Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at Simply Relational. This is my wife, Dr. Shelley Krager, and I'm Darren Krager. This is where we elevate marriages and equip parents. Our topic today is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
We're in a season now. It's June, and usually in the early summer, late spring, early summer, what happens? There are a lot of weddings.
Yes. Lots of weddings.
Now, I want you all to um, not turn us off if you've been married 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because the topic we talk about, if there's not clarity, if things are not done right, gets carried on from year to year to year to year, and you're trying to figure out what is the issue in our marriage, and if you actually did something before you got married, or
Mhm.
actually right when you got married, you wouldn't have the issues and problems we do today.
Yeah. It's funny because from a society perspective, the marriage really, when people think about marriage, you typically always go back to the wedding day. And I think the world tells us like the wedding day defines the marriage.
Yeah.
There's so many false things we know in that. But an area where that is actually true is the wedding day does define the marriage in the sense where what are you walking into that wedding day knowing and understanding? So we use an analogy when we do our marriage workshop.
Yeah, we use an analogy of suitcases, and you
Mhm.
might have heard or even seen this, but we do this with our marriage seminars and a lot with when we're doing marriage mentoring sessions and stuff. Is that Uh, we buy we buy this really beautiful marriage suitcase,
Mhm.
nice and big
It's
and
like a wedding
everything.
day, like
Yeah, like a
everything's
wave day.
perfect.
Everything's
And,
perfect.
mhm.
But what we don't realize is that what are we filling that really nice giant
Mhm.
suitcase with? And more times than not, the majority of the time, we actually fill a suitcase with individual suitcases. Shelley's suitcase, my suitcase. We have our individual suitcases, and they're filled with stuff all about our personal lives, our past, be it good or bad, and just the things who we are. We individualize it and put it in our own individual suitcase. We got a Darren suitcase, you got a Shelley
Yeah.
suitcase, and then on our wedding day, we pick those up and we place them inside the marriage suitcase, nice and beautiful, and then zip that thing up, and we carry that big, giant,
Yeah.
beautiful suitcase to with us for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, we all walk into a marriage with a me suitcase, and some of us travel light. Some of us walk into a marriage, and we just have just a few things that are put in there. I mean, we were babies when we got married,
Mhm.
but what I can tell you is, even as young as we were, we both had some baggage
Oh,
that we brought
everybody has
in
baggage.
to our marriage. And then there's some of you out there that have a lot of luggage, a lot of baggage that you're bringing into your suitcase. Maybe it's a second marriage. Maybe there's abuse that happens somewhere along the line. Maybe there's a dysfunctional family that you're coming from. And so every one of those things brings more baggage that you bring
Yeah.
in. So we each have our me suitcase.
Yes.
We walk into our wedding day and we say, I do.
Yeah.
And instantly we put it into this we suitcase.
Yeah.
But what happens is we close that suitcase, we zip it up, and we just go on our merry way.
Yeah.
But eventually, little by little, what's packed into that suitcase begins to bubble out,
Yep. Yep.
begins to
Yeah.
start pushing its way out.
Yep. I know. It you can just think about it now. What is in your suitcase from your past? And all of a
Mhm.
sudden things are coming out and you're starting to see things from your spouse in their past, and you all of a sudden you're in question about certain things. And then this is when a lot of controversy
Yeah.
begins, a
Yeah.
lot of frustration begins because as life goes on, and if you haven't unpacked the suitcase, um, you're struggling to find an answer of maybe what's wrong with your spouse, or what's
Mhm.
right with me, or what's wrong with me, and how come
Yeah.
we aren't meshing together as in perfect harmony.
Yeah.
And it's because it's we got these two suitcases hidden in
Yeah.
one giant marriage suitcase.
Yeah. Because when you're dating, the thing that you appreciate the most about your future spouse are the differences. Like
Absolutely.
you hear the phrase, I don't remember what movie it's from, you complete me.
Yeah.
And so we hear that phrase a lot, and that's the thing we value and appreciate
Uh,
about each other. And yet, when you start hitting life bumps and
yes.
life circumstances, they actually become the things that irritate you the most.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
for example, like when we were growing up, how our families dealt with conflict would be very different.
Absolutely.
So I grew up in a pretty loud household, five girls,
Oh,
lots of drama that happened all the time. And we said what we felt. If we were frustrated, we screamed it out. We pulled hair. We taught, we would just duke it out, fight it out. But we'd also then have peace and harmony that could come in the midst of that. My poor dad, I still wonder how he even survived all of that. But we talked about things. Like it wasn't something that was hidden, that was kind of tucked under
yeah.
the rug.
Yeah.
Where your
Yeah.
family, I think, was a
We
little
were,
different.
oh, completely different. We had the quiet family.
Mhm.
I just, my brother and myself and my parents were a Christian family, but, you didn't wear stuff on your sleeve to where everybody can see it.
Yeah.
It was all hidden. Mom and dad's arguments or disagreements were always behind closed doors, and we never heard anything. But when we did hear everything, or once in a grand while, we just thought the world was coming to an end because it was shocking. But yeah, we had a quiet household,
Mhm.
and so you can imagine Shelley with four sisters. Um, uh, Compared to my life, we saw this dramatically at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you thought our family was crazy. I mean,
Crazy at
we probably
Christmas.
were, but
Yeah, we were all calm and quiet and
yeah.
handing presents out and watching that person open their present individually. As when my first Christmas with your family, your mom said, "Your family's presents in that corner, that corner, that corner, go." And
Mhm.
oh
It was
my
a free
goodness,
for
I was
all.
shocked. I couldn't believe
I
what
actually think you stood back and recorded this.
I did. I had a video recorder. You made those
No,
big old video recorders, you put on her shoulder, so.
don't date us that much, honey. But let's go back to the piece of even, let's just talk about that for conflict, because there's some families, there's some couples out there that when conflict arises, one couple or one person in the couple, one spouse is like, oh, like we just kind of pass through that. We don't talk about it. We kind of tuck it under the rug and it will eventually go away.
Yeah,
And the other one might have grown up in a household where it's like, no, we talk about this and we're not going to stop talking until
yeah,
we're done.
yeah.
If you don't understand that about each other, it's going to create a lot of tension and frustration. But that actually comes from baggage that
Yeah.
we brought in. It comes
Absolutely.
from a past of a me. This is how I grew up. This is what
Yes.
we did in my
This is
family.
how I grew up. This is
Mhm.
the way my family did it.
And now we're trying to become a we, and
Yeah,
we have to unpack that so that we know how we're going to walk through that
yeah,
conflict
yeah,
together.
yeah.
So, emotional baggage, that'd be a whole nother piece too. Like you've got a lot of emotional things, sometimes strong reactions in a marriage, strong reaction to things that happen actually have nothing to do with the circumstance that's
Correct.
actually taking place. It's actually something from our past that's triggering that. And
Yeah.
if we don't understand that about each other, we're going to take that very
Mhm,
personal.
mhm.
I just think it's interesting going back to the piece of when we first get married, when we're dating, like the things that are different or what we appreciate. You and I talk a lot about the lenses that we're looking from.
Mhm.
And I think what starts to happen is when you're dating, you're looking from the lens of you're looking for all the things that are right with that person. Like you want so much for this to be the person that
Yes.
completes you. So you're looking for all those things that are right. But then as life starts to go on, those things start to annoy you and they become the things that are wrong. And now you put on a different pair of glasses. And now I'm looking at
Yeah.
you of all the things that are wrong with you.
This is a danger zone, everybody. Listen carefully. It is. It took Shelley and I a long time to realize this, especially me. Shelley's, she is fun country. And I'm a little more on the serious side, and I would look more at the what's wrong, because when you're right, Shelley, when you're first start dating in the first year or so in marriage, we don't realize that we are appreciating how how different You are to complete me, as you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
and
Balance.
and it balances everything.
Hmm.
I know we talked about balance relationships.
Hmm.
That's not what we're talking about in our previous podcast. We're talking about kind of a balance and equalizing our
Hmm.
friendship. And then, but what happens is when conflict starts happening and arguments and frustration, children come along, a
Mm.
new job,
Yeah.
illness or something like that. And so the seriousness of life creep up. And so we're looking for that support, those answers that we're expecting
Hmm.
because this is how I grew up and I'm not getting that. She's not getting that. Oh my goodness. This is when per se the banana peel starts peeling off in
Yeah.
pieces and you're just and exposing something. Well, the exposure is that you're right. I start focusing on what's wrong.
Hmm.
And when we start focusing on what's wrong with the other person, we get tunnel vision. And it becomes very damaging because that's all we start
Yeah.
looking at is what's wrong and not what's right. And we kind of, in a way, forget why did we fall in love in the
Yeah. What
first
did we
place?
appreciate about each other?
And so I know
Mhm.
sometimes you have those questions, everybody out there. It's like, why did I fall in love with this person in the first place?
Mhm.
I don't even know if I like them anymore.
Yeah.
Do I even love them or am I in love with this person anymore?
Yeah.
How did I ever find that? Well, keep listening and hopefully we can
Yeah.
kindle this.
Yeah. Because what we know is marriage doesn't naturally drift to connection.
No.
In fact, if it's left unchecked and you're not intentional about it, any relationship can naturally lead to disconnection
Hmm.
because instantly you start to realize the differences in each other. So if you're in that spot right now, if you're in that place where you're just irritated by a lot of things that your spouse is doing,
Hmm.
my challenge to you would be pause for a minute and stop and think about what is it that you actually value and appreciate about them because your processing and your thinking, the lens that you're looking from will actually change how you continue to move forward and
Hmm.
look at them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean what they're doing doesn't irritate you, but
Yeah.
there's something you appreciate and value too. And
Yeah.
so you have to kind of flip that
Yeah.
and start looking from the
Yeah.
other
And this
lens.
can go, and everybody, this goes beyond the marriage.
Hmm.
This is, sometimes your children,
Any
sometimes
relationship.
at the workplace, business owners. I've been a business owner. I own some businesses around the country and stuff like that. And boy, you can hyper focus on why I don't like that person, why I don't like
Hmm.
that employer, that employee. But then you start looking at it and it's going, what is right with this
Yeah.
person? And then then it drifts you to being able to, how can I help this person even be better? How
Yeah.
can I help my wife be better? But if I stay focused on what's wrong, yeah, the marriage is going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hyper
little side
focus on
note,
the
you brought up the kids part of it. If you have a toddler at home or you have a teenager at home, oh, this is so important
very important.
because that's the season where you're like all the things that they're doing are probably annoying and irritating. You're not understanding them, they're frustrating you. You do have to stop and be able to look at that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
little
you
side
do.
note there.
Yeah. So if flipping it, if you focus on what's right
Hmm.
and hyper focus on that, I'm telling you what, uh, things start blossoming in your
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and things are you start looking through a lens that is a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, you're starting to see more joy and happiness in the
Hmm.
life and in the relationships, and that does come along when you start looking at what is right
Yeah.
with your spouse.
Yeah. Marriage was never meant to be two separate people simply living under the two roof. In fact, I think we call that
Yes,
roommates.
yes,
Like
roommates.
marriage is not meant to
Yeah.
be roommates. It's
And
meant to be an intimate, deep relationship.
yeah, and how many can say right now in your marriage, it feels like we're roommates?
Yeah.
Do we actually feel like we're married? And it is an issue, and we talk about it. It's very serious
Hmm.
and stuff. So there's a Bible verse that we've all heard. It's very simple, and it's at the beginning of the Bible. That's in the second chapter of Genesis. So this is how important of how to that we are to become one, a we instead of a me,
Hmm.
and this is so easy. Genesis 2
So
24.
why don't you look it up in your actual
Oh, well,
Bible there?
sure, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's look it up here real quick. That'll be easy, huh? The first book of the Bible. And we're going to go there.
While he's looking that up, it's kind of that reminder that marriage, it's kind of what we've been saying. Marriage isn't just about combining two lives, taking two me's and throwing them together in a suitcase and becoming one. It's actually about taking two lives, unpacking them so that you can find the commonalities and
Mhm.
create that unity that's going to make you one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Genesis 2:24. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Now, the man and his
Mhm.
wife were both naked, but they felt no shame. This is
Mhm.
mainly the 24. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. It
Yeah.
is a we relationship,
Yeah.
not a me, not a me
Mhm.
relationship. It is a we relationship. And if we're not focused on uh, moving forward and creating this we-ness,
Mhm.
the me-ness, am I,
Yeah.
will start overwhelming the relationship, and you're going to start finding yourself not drifting closer together. You'll find yourself drifting away from each other.
Mhm.
And later in life, and we'll tell you that more couples than not, older couples in retirement age that we know of, that we even talk to, that they live two separate lives and they're just roommates.
Yeah.
They're friends, but they're
Yeah.
married because they never in their life really went forward to continue to move and develop a we
Yeah.
relationship. It was all about me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
Me, myself, and I.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we see, well, I mean, we've met with a lot of couples, and when we meet with those couples, what we realize is that it's not typically more effort that couples need to put into their marriage. It's actually more clarity that they need to put into their marriage.
Yeah.
And that's why we developed actually our marriage quiz.
Yeah.
The marriage quiz was really centered around that. And we're actually going to provide the link for you here. It'll be connected with the podcast. So you can click on that link. It's also on our website that you can find that as well. In the marriage quiz, it really just kind of helps you distinguish where are we connected and where are we disconnected? What are the areas where we're in alignment together? And what are the areas that we need to continue to focus on? So it gives some real practical questions that you go through. The husband takes it
Mhm.
separate from the wife, and then
Yep.
you can actually see where you're scoring together, where the areas that the husband's view was, where were your views at, and what are the talking points that you need to intentionally have
Mhm.
where you may be separated in that me versus we
Yeah,
mindset.
yeah, it's really going to bring out to what is weak in your relationship. You
Mhm.
might already know, but this will just affirm it. What is weak? What is strong? Um, unfortunately, a lot of times when people take this test, it's there is hardly any strength, or there's a lot of strong
Mhm.
and there's one weakness, but
Yeah.
or it's moderate. Everything's just in the moderate category. But this is going to give. It's a lot of fun. It's
Mhm.
quick and easy, but it's going to give a lot of clarity and direction, instruction of where you need to start going
Yeah.
in your marriage to be a stronger we.
Yeah. And again, I go back to our heart and our passion
Hmm.
is to pour into marriages. So as you take this marriage quiz, if there's questions that you have from it, there's an interactive place where you can actually ask us questions. We're happy to answer. We're happy to dialogue around those. And we're going to continue to provide other resources, maybe some training videos and things that will correlate with
Yeah,
that as well to
yeah.
help navigate that.
So, kind of as we first started, before we wrapping up here, um, have a conversation with your spouse.
Mm,
Going back to what did you pack in your suitcase,
mm,
or what did they pack into their suitcases, the me suitcases that you put into the marriage suitcase? And have you actually unpacked it?
yeah.
Have you really gone through it? And are there stuff in the suitcase that you're needing some extra help with? some
Mhm.
professional counseling, or a mentor that can come alongside you that has experienced certain things in life or experienced marriage that
Yeah.
to really help clarify that you can unpack your own me suitcases. And with that comes throwing away some stuff.
Mhm.
I guarantee you,
Yeah.
throwing away some stuff and keeping what enriches the marriage
Yeah.
and then put it into the nice, brilliant marriage
Yeah. I
suitcase.
think a practical example of that is something you could even do today, like
Mhm.
starting as early as today. Maybe there's a little conflict that's happening in your marriage. For us, sometimes it would come around finances,
Sure.
how we viewed finances and how my family viewed finances and how you viewed finances growing up. And so if you have an area that there's a conflict around, instead of continuing the battle of the conflict, actually pause and ask each other, what is your view of finance? What is it? How did you grow up? What did that look like in your family? The same for me. How did that look for my family? When you pause and actually just have that dialogue around that, it usually gives you a clarity that you did not have before. It may not erase the conflict, but it gives you understanding so that you can find a solution moving forward versus it trying to be my way or your way.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So we talk about the stones each week and kind of leaving with a stone phrase. So I think the stone for this week is a strong we is built when we unpack the individual me. It's a
Absolutely.
critical thing in your marriage.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of you might be sitting there saying, well, of course, we've been married 20 years. We know each other well. We've been married almost 40 years, and I can tell you we still are unpacking our suitcase.
Oh yeah.
You never end that unpacking, but the more that you pour into unpacking the individual me's to create that we, the stronger bond you will
Yeah.
develop,
Yeah.
the more intentional bond you will develop
Yeah.
in your
For
marriage.
those who are listening, um, when we talk about the stone, and we mentioned this a couple of times on the other podcasts, but I have in my hand an incredible, smooth, kind of oval stone that's about 3 inches in diameter and about an inch thick. And it's a river rock, and it's incredible. And we correlate this with Boy David
Mhm.
when he took a handful of stones out of the creek and battled with a giant, and it took only one stone. So we would encourage you uh, to go find a rock. Seriously,
Mm.
to go find a stone yourself. To give this little reminder, if you put it on the dresser or next to your nightstand near your bed, or maybe on the island or something like that, that you both know when you look at the stone um, uh, that the Goliath in your life, the giant in your life, um, can be overtaken by a little stone.
Mhm.
And it's all done by faith. It's because you're going to open yourselves up to each other, but open yourself up to God. And that's extremely, extremely important. And knowing that even a 13, 14-year-old picked up a stone and conquered a nation, literally, by
Mm.
defeating with one swift movement a 9-foot
Yeah.
giant, and it turned literally uh, the it's a story that has been handed down for thousands of
Mm.
years and will continue on. One of the most powerful stories of all time. So, yeah, we encourage you to go get a stone and just as a reminder,
Yeah. 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 We don't know where each of you are out there. Some of you might have pebbles
yeah,
that are in your life, and some of you might have what feels like a giant stone. And I think it's that reminder that no matter how giant that stone feels,
yeah,
if there's a wedge in your marriage or there's difficulties that are happening in your marriage, that it can be torn down
yeah,
in an instant.
yep, yep,
And so
yep.
take that first step today. We encourage you to check out the marriage quiz. It's free. It's something that you can go on and do. And we'd love to hear some feedback
Yeah,
from it as
yeah, get
well.
some feedback. Yeah, email us. You'll have our email address on there, and email us with some questions or um, just things that have come to mind or how this podcast has been helping you and in your life. And so we'd love to hear from you. But anyways, We thank you for listening. And again, this is Simply Relational with Dr. Shelley Krager and myself, Darren Krager, and my pen name is DL Krager on my fiction books. But everybody have a great day and a
Yeah.
blessed day.
Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yes. God bless you.